Hi Virgo, I hope that you're all doing well. This reading is going to be about what will be unfolding for you over the next 14 days. Anything big, important, anything that you need to know. Okay, we're starting off with Three of Swords and Queen of Wands. I am seeing the Chariot on the bottom of the deck. What this feels like is that if there is some type of wounding that's associated with your confidence, your self-expression, your creativity, things of that nature, and like choices that we make because of it, there can be a big addressing of this. This Three of Swords card, the heart in it is clear, and it gives the feeling of understanding, like what created some type of pain. Like, oh, I'm seeing that thing happened and I felt affected by that and that over there. And so it feels like a very becoming very aware of something or multiple things. And then when we have Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands is about us feeling confident within ourselves. The Queen of Wands is about the freedom that we experience, that we allow to express ourselves authentically. And so anything that is getting in the way of your authenticity, you expressing yourself authentically, it can be fears, it can be wounds that come up, anything that would be getting in the way of that and hindering that. It can be a time when you become aware of those things and where you're addressing that. So this can be a big theme. Self-expression, behavior, choices, self-advocacy can also be part of this too. This can also be two things that we do where we feel like, I'm not honoring myself here, I'm disrespecting myself in some way, or a part of me that wants to express itself and wants to be viewed, wants to be seen, has something to give, has something to express. Having the Chariot on the bottom of the deck can show that this is something that's been a bit of a barrier for you. Having Chariot also shows the multifaceted approach that you take to resolve this, and that is very much possible to do here. So there can be something about self-expression that's being healed. There can be something about wounding that's being realized. There can be something about choices that are being healed, creativity, confidence. Things about comparison can be coming up as well. That can be part of it too. This can be something that subdues you a little bit or has you not express yourself or not speak up. I'm seeing Eight of Swords. It's whatever would get in the way of you really shining your light and being quiet or shutting down instead. And then not give the gift that you have to give. So yeah, you can be uncovering stuff about like what's wounded your confidence, your self-belief, self-expression. I think also too, working with the part of you that may want to like just get stuck thinking and then not do anything, but just be like going around and around and around in your head and then not go anywhere. Not that you'd want to be, but how that can happen. And anything that would have you being shut down or quiet or not working with that energy. This can also be something that discourages you to speak up when you're working with other people or interacting with other energies. With Eight of Swords and Three of Pentacles, it can be you needing to allow yourself to take up the room and take up the space that you want to take up. Because I almost get this feeling with the Eight of Swords and Three of Pentacles as if you're like working with others or working within a situation, you becoming flexible to a point of not showing up within your own energy. I feel like there's a fine line between, are you being flexible and collaborative versus are you just catering to everybody else's needs and then not showing up within your own light? Like, you also have something to show, you also have something to offer, you also have something to give. And this can be trusting that part of you that says, like, I have something to say here, or I have something to show here. Because I get this vibe with this Three of Pentacles as, like, if you're working in a room with other people, like, letting everybody else go center stage and then you doing stuff behind the scenes and, like, never going up there. And it feels like recognizing the importance that you also need to be center stage as well. Not in a way where you push everybody out of the way, but more so in a way where you understand that you need to have a piece of the pie too. Like, you make a very valuable and important part of the whole, like, pie essentially here, and that being part of it, that your role doesn't need to be smaller, less important than anybody else's, that you can have, like, equal importance for everybody involved, but that you also deserve that place as well. I feel almost this feeling of, like, losing your voice in the crowd a little bit with this. Like, actually, this has to do with you allowing yourself to be seen here. Because the part of you that's the Queen of Wands, you have something to go up there on stage and show to everybody, and it can be this working around everything else, and then you, like, miss your act that you were supposed to do here, but not from a place of this is what's best for everybody, actually from a place of wounding, starting with the Three of Swords. So this isn't something where it's like, this is the highest good for everybody. This is like, I'm hiding away. And so actually not honoring and stepping into the role that needs to be played by you. So you can really be seeing this come to light here. Like, knowing you get a chance too, you get a voice here too. I get the feeling of you doing something that's a bit outside of your comfort zone here with the Fool, connecting with Three of Pentacles, and being flexible in a somewhat new situation. And also, too, given your past experiences that are still being held on to at times, how do you also work with that, too? How do you not look at the stuff that you're healing and push it away or even pull it closer? How do you allow that to exist while still working with that too? And being in a place of acceptance of where you are in any given moment within your process, just as you are. Like, how do you work with the part of yourself that may get shy sometimes? Or how do you work with the part of yourself that may get stuck in your head sometimes? Or how do you work with the part of yourself that may not voice things when you really want to be voicing things? Like, how do you coach that? How do you work with that? And how do you slowly open up? Because when we have the Fool here, this is about you're going into something and you're going to be exploring new things, and you're going to go into something where you don't have to be limited. There can be a limitlessness if you go into this mindfully, and I think that it's about allowing yourself outside of those barriers and even conditioning. Okay. So what's going on with this Three of Swords? What does this look like for you? What does this wounding or this pain or this self-consciousness look like for you? Having Five of Swords here, this can be self-judgment, self-criticism, perfectionism, not feeling good enough, feeling like people aren't going to be receptive to what it is that you're showing up with, that it's not as good as that other person's. It all comes from this. It can be like a place of self-loathing. It can be a place of a lack of self-acceptance, self-criticism, self-judgment. It can be just a very negative narrative, even, that when you tune into it, you see this comes from a place of wounding. Like, it doesn't feel unconditionally loving and supporting. It's gonna feel like something other. And whatever it was that sort of allowed this to become ingrained within you, whatever situation you're in now, it feels like it's bringing this to light so you can become aware of it. And so you're basically going through a purifying process right now where these things are coming to light. It's only coming up so that it can be healed. It's not coming up to bother you, to terrorize you, to make you feel worse about yourself. This stuff is coming up so it can be addressed, so you can realize what's going on and how it's holding you back, how it's not allowing you to show up fully. And within that, there's power that's gained. And this is looking at stuff, and when wounding comes up, or when that, like, why did I do it like that? When, like, I really wanted to show up like this. It can be a time where, rather than getting mad at yourself for these things happening, you realize, oh, I do that when I start feeling like this, but I don't want to. And so you can then change. When I get that feeling, this is what I start doing, but I don't want to do it like that anymore. I want to do it like this instead. So, like, how do you work with that? If these are the conditions that you're in and you want to break out of that conditioning, this is the perfect situation for these things to be coming up, to be worked on, and then you don't have to deal with these things anymore. You dissolve these issues, and then you feel that sense of wholeness within you. But it has to be recognized, it has to be faced, it has to come up in order for it to be worked on. So as much as it can feel like a nuisance when it happens, as much as it can be upsetting, frustrating, can have you like not feeling good, the only reason it's coming up is for a productive reason. So you can work with it. And I think to work with it in a way that you haven't before. Because when we have the Fool here next to it, it means that you can be really thinking outside of the box. You can address things in new ways. You can do new types of healing too. And you can find that these things are actually exactly the medicine that you need to complete these chapters, to complete these cycles, and that it's very much something that once you have completed this, you don't have to deal with this again, because it's something that you've worked through. It's basically like a very difficult process that you go through that has been internalized, that some situation that you're in, it brings it up for you, it makes you aware of it, that this is something that's going on, dealing with your feelings associated with this being brought to your attention, and then healing through it. And I also get the feeling like you're not alone doing this, because I'm also seeing the Three of Pentacles, which can be being cooperative within the environment and situation that you're in. But some of you, there are other people that are involved in this that are also going to be helpful. Like, this can be a process of restoration for you. Because I do feel like this has to do with like a collaborative spirit. Because you can feel like when you're on your own that this isn't so much an issue, but maybe when there are others involved, this comes up, and this can be a time when, because of that, it can be worked on. Because I even get, when you have Eight of Swords above Page of Pentacles, Page of Pentacles is the part of you that you're learning how to be resourceful, you're learning new skills, you're figuring out how to do something in a practical way that you don't have like all of the experience yet to it. And then there's that other part of you that can be like, it's not as good as it should be, or it's not perfect yet, or it's not this, or it's not that. And this part of you is saying, hey, this is the situation that we need to be in to learn how to do this and how to like perfect this practice here, but we're just at the beginning of this, so can you give me some time to figure it out, rather than immediately having this like very crushing narrative that just makes matters worse and makes this not into a fun experience, or one where things you actually give yourself the possibility and chance to change and to break out of that prior molding. Self-expression directly related to the heart chakra work that's being done. And it feels too like you being in a situation where you don't have all the answers and you're figuring things out, and that can feel triggering. You don't automatically already know what you're doing, and the part of you that can sometimes lose it a bit if you're not like automatically thrown into something, you know exactly what you're doing, you're not messing up at all, you feel like you're perfect at it, like nobody has anything to say. This is one of those situations where you're basically like a novice with this thing that you're doing, and you're figuring out, how do I find my own way? How do I do it in a way that feels organic to me? And also too, how do I allow that? How do I allow myself space to work within this? And how do I also temper what's going on mentally for me? Especially when it comes to self-criticism, self-judgment, the fear narrative, the it's not good enough. What are people thinking? Are people judging me? That whole thing. And this being all something that's being addressed, and all something that's being healed. Flexibility, adaptability, approaching something old in a new way. Feels too like an old narrative, or even something that you could have perceived as a shortcoming that actually isn't, but something that you may have like crystallized within you, like that's a shortcoming of mine. And then you find out like that narrative has been keeping you within that energy, and you don't have to be within that anymore. It can be even thinking you're bad at something, and now you have some new chance to explore it, and you find out you're actually not at all. You're actually great at that. Like that's a skill that you can develop. And that was an old narrative where you just like wrote something off as like, I'm not good at that thing. And then you allow yourself to work within this, and it becomes something you get really great at. And then that's no longer your narrative anymore. It's no longer lagging behind you. And you don't have to force yourself into that anymore. But you have to give yourself a chance to explore. That's really a big thing here. Like instead of just writing something off as like, I'm terrible at riding the bike, and like, why do you think you're terrible at it? Where is that coming from? When was the last time you tried to get back on the bike again? And then you get on the bike, and instead of feeling like you need to immediately be able to ride it with no hands, like allow yourself to go through this training process, and then you'll find that you get really good at it to a point where you're no longer identified with that, like I'm somebody that can't ride a bike anymore. And this is all stuff that's being worked on. All right, my friends, we're going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.